right, the first project we're going to do is the candy blow up project. And your objective is to create a blow up of 5 pieces of randomly selected candy, meaning I'm taking this candy and I'm drawing it like a still life. I'm blowing it up on a larger piece of paper. This project will employ the use of rule of thirds, which is something that we'll get into a little later, colored pencil techniques, which is in a separate video, and blocking in methods. I've included 2 examples here from former students that have done this project, and I want you to see the level of detail that I am looking for in this project. I want this to be an extremely detailed drawing of the candy up close, okay? All right, so the vocabulary and notes that go along with this project. A couple of terms will be repeat from last year. A couple will be new. Gesture drawing is drawing using quick movements to record someone's position or gesture. Blocking in is drawing using simple shapes to get placement. Contour is drawing the outline or edge. Proportions are correct relations to things and parts. And you're going to be using that a lot with this particular project. Highlights are areas of reflected light on an object. And you're going to hear me say this a lot this semester, saturate your color. And what that means is using colored pencil or any colored drawing media like pastels, crayon even, make sure that your color is so dense that you cannot see the background paper showing through it. It should be done in several layers and be very dark. This does not mean that you need to press harder. That's not how saturating your color is done. Saturating your color is done in a lot of light layers, okay? The next section talks about colored pencil. Colored pencil is bonded and shaped pigment encased in wood. The pigment is bonded together with cellulose gum and wax. The wax allows the color to spread smoothly. Thin layers of colored pencil must be built up over time rather than heavy, dense layers. Wax bloom occurs when colored pencils are applied too heavily. This is when the wax rises to the top of your drawing in a layer, making the surface appear hazy. The techniques that are listed below, we are going to go through in another video that you will find down in the bottom, but I'm just going to read through them really quickly. Hatching is groups of lines that go in the same direction. Cross hatching, you've done that before. These are lines that go in one direction and cross over one another. Directional lines are lines that follow the contour of an object. Gradated is gradual change from one tone of color to another. Tone is an area of value of color that shows little or no defined strokes. Layering is building up color slowly. Pointillism is laying in dots of color. Sgraffito is laying in heavy layers of color. Impressed line is pushing a line into the paper and then using your fingernail and then coloring over that line. Lifting is removing colored pencil with an eraser, and burnishing is applying a heavy layer of dark color, then applying a lighter layer on top. And like I said before, there is a video when you get down into the steps portion of this that goes through each one of these techniques and shows you how to do them. Okay, next thing, rule of thirds. You are going to be using the rule of thirds for this project. The rule of thirds is a compositional tool artists use to determine placement of the subject in their artwork. The paper is divided into 9 boxes using 4 lines. Where those lines intersect, in the example here, the circled areas are known as hot spots or power points. When a subject is placed on those points, the composition better emphasizes the work's focus. It gives you a better focal point, makes it a little more interesting and appealing, okay? This is a tool commonly used in photography and film, but can be applied to any work of art. So if you look down here, this is an example of what the rule of thirds looks like laid over your composition or your paper. This is what it looks like in a photography setting, how you would use those PowerPoints. The subject or the most important thing that we want the viewer to see is laid in right on one of those specific PowerPoints. Same thing down here, the B is on a PowerPoint. And also even in famous work, this is a famous painting done by a Japanese artist. The focal point, which is this large wave here, is placed on one of those PowerPoints. Okay. The supplies that you'll need for this project, you'll need a ruler. You'll need 18 by 24 white paper, which is the largest paper that we use. It's the largest paper that you're going to find in your supply pack, and it's got a little orange dot on the bottom corner. You'll need a pencil. You'll need colored pencils. You'll need a rule of thirds grid, which you'll find inside your supply pack. Markers, black Sharpie, an eraser, and 5 pieces of candy. Okay. The steps are as follows. Number one, try all the color pencil techniques in your sketchbook or on sketch paper along with this video. That's the video that I was explaining before that we talk about colored pencil techniques, and I'm going to demonstrate all of those for you so you can see how they're done. You are going to try those techniques along with me so that you can show me that you've tried them on a piece of copy paper or in your sketchbook. Number two, take the 5 pieces of candy and arrange it on the rule of thirds grid. Make sure you use your PowerPoint and make sure the composition looks interesting. Items can slightly go off the page if you want them to. Take a photo of the arrangement once you've got it all arranged. It needs to be a clear photo from above with good light. See the example that I have enclosed here. This is what your rule of third grid paper is going to look like. You are going to take the 5 pieces of candy that are in your supply pack and you are going to arrange them on there inside that box. Okay, that is going to become your still life. Once you've created the still life of the candy and you've gotten your photo with good light, you're going to save the photo to both your device and you're going to upload it to Google Drive. This way you don't lose it, okay? You need to keep track of this photo because the next thing that I tell you is going to ruin your life if you lose that photograph. You can now eat your candy. Once you got a picture and you've saved it, then you can eat your candy. You're welcome. All right, number 3, using the 18 by 24 piece of white paper with the orange dot on it, create a lightly drawn grid that looks just like the rule of thirds grid. You need 9 squares, and you can watch this video that I have provided here for help with the measurements. I'm just going to quickly go through plotting it out on your white paper, okay? Number 4, begin lightly blocking in the shapes of each piece of candy. Use the grid to help you place the items on the correct spaces and determine proportions. So if you look back at this example here, you can very clearly see that this object intersects that PowerPoint and it looks pretty well centered on that PowerPoint. When you draw it, you want to make sure that that item extends into this corner box exactly where you see it happening here. Hold on a second.
This is just asking to see if everyone is okay. We received a call, just making sure everyone is all right. Call the front office if you need assistance.
Okay. At this point, once you've got everything blocked in and you have your placement and your proportions correct, begin reshaping your candy and perfect the contours. Do not shade anything with pencil. So once you have this roughly drawn circle of where each piece of candy is going, or whatever shape that candy most closely represents, in my case, pretty much everything was a circle or a square. Once you have those things laid out, then you can go back and really start shaping those things and draw right on top of that blocked in section. You want to draw the outline exactly the way it appears, okay? Let's see. Number 6, at this point, complete the 4 corners and center squares with colored pencils. So you've got everything drawn out at this point. Now you got to add color, okay? You're going to complete the 4 boxes on the corners and the one directly in the center with your colored pencil using the techniques that you just learned, okay? Make sure you saturate your color. Keep the colored pencil going in the same direction throughout. That's kind of one of my pet peeves when somebody uses colored pencil, when they color this way and then halfway through the drawing, they're coloring this way. It drives me crazy. Okay, keep the colored pencil going in the same direction. The remaining squares that are left over at the end are to be done in black Sharpie or marker. And pointillism is an option. Now I suggest you go back up to the top where I showed you the 2 examples and really zoom in and look at them and see what those 2 artists did, because what they did was nearly perfect for this project, okay? Do not, I repeat, do not outline the boxes. Those boxes need to get erased when you're all done, because all I want to see is 2 types of media separating the squares, not a harsh line, okay? So if you erase those lines, then the media itself creates that barrier, and that's how you still can see those lines, okay? Number 7, make sure you use subtle background color at the end. So at the end, you've got this empty background, it's all white. What do you do? Pick a neutral, something very basic and light, and just fill it in, okay? Something that does not take away from the subject itself. Number 8, complete a critique sheet. I have given you a sample critique sheet here for you to look at, just so that it can jog your memory about how a critique sheet should be filled out, okay? So look at that when you're ready. Grading out of 100 points. I'm going to do 10 points for your candy placement, 15 points for your blocking in, 15 points for your contour, 20 for your colored pencil technique, 10 for your marker technique. Creativity is 10 points, craftsmanship 10 points, and the critique at the end is another 10 points. For submitting your work, you're going to photograph your colored pencil techniques with your name written on the front. Second step, put your name on the front of your project and photograph that too. Okay, so you'll have 2 photographs at this point. Number 3 says complete a critique sheet. You've got some choices here. You can either write out just the answers to the critique sheet on lined paper, then photograph it with your name at the top. You could use Kami to complete the critique sheet if you know how to do that. You can type your answers in a Google Doc, put your name at the top, and then upload that, okay? The last step is to upload your critique, the photograph of your project, and the techniques, okay? So I want 3 things: your critique, your project, your techniques, all uploaded to Project One in Google Classroom.